Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. How are we doing today? Welcome in. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and on BamaCentral.com. I'm Joe Gaither hanging out with you guys today. What a wonderful Tuesday. Look beautiful outside here in Tuscaloosa. I hope wherever you are watching and enjoying the program that it's a beautiful day as well. We invite you to jump in and join the show anywhere that you get your social medias on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm at Joe Gaither6. You can watch me right there. And of course, you can watch me on YouTube as well at Joe Gaither6 live at 1 o'clock every single day. We repost every episode right there on BamaCentral's YouTube channel because we are a proud part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. We invite you also, if you want to listen on playback, you can check it out on podcasts on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon as well. So look, we invite you all to jump in and join the shows and tell a friend. We're having a lot of fun on the Joe Gaither Show. Yes, it is summertime, but we're having a lot of fun, as much fun as we can, getting you to the start of kickoff. And we are right around the corner. It's gonna come very, very soon. Look. Today's show actually is thematic around the kickoff because next week is SEC Media Days. So look, I'm going to get into a couple of topics. Before I get into the topics today, I want to go back and thank our friend Julian Sayin. Julian Sayin joined me on the program yesterday. You don't know who that is? Well, here he is. Of course, he's the five-star quarterback. He's the five-star quarterback, the 2024 Alabama commit. Look, he was just ranked the number one quarterback in the 2024 class by On3 Sports yesterday in their read rankings. So it was a huge blessing to hear from Julian saying yesterday. You can listen to that on the various platforms. Check it out on BamaCentral.com, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, any place. We spent about 40 minutes with the future Alabama gunslinger, and I'm very, very appreciative of his time and of Coach McNeil helping set me up with Julian saying. So appreciate Julian joining me yesterday. We're going to try to make sure that we get good guests the rest of the week. I've been a little bit behind on my guest planning for the week just because I was very focused on the Julian Sayin discussion. But we'll continue to bring some recruits on, and I'm looking out for former Alabama players as well, trying to get ready for the new 2023 football season. So what are we going to do today on a Tuesday? I got 5 topics or so on a Tuesday, and we're going to start with football. Alabama football is our bread and butter. Let's start with some news yesterday. We didn't want to get into the weekend review or news yesterday because we obviously wanted to spend our time with Julian Sayin yesterday. So our weekend review and kind of our headlines gets going right here. Well, I hope you had a great weekend. I want to talk. Let's get it started with SEC Media Days. Yesterday, before I got the show kicked off, Alabama and really everyone kind of let out who they're taking to SEC Media Days. Alabama obviously looking for a revenge tour, trying to get back to win the West after LSU wins the West last year, obviously trying to reestablish the standard. Everybody worried about who's going to play quarterback for the Crimson Tide. Well, Nick Saban selects 3 veterans, selects 3 guys who are highly experienced and going to be pivotal, cornerstone pieces to this 2023 Alabama football team. He goes out and selects, he's going to take Kool-Aid McKinstry, he's going to take Dallas Turner, and he's going to take J.C. Latham to Nashville next week at SEC Media Days. And we'll be up there with BamaCentral, our friends Katie Wynn, myself, I believe Austin Hannon. We're going to have a whole crew up there at SEC Media Days in Nashville. Next Wednesday is Alabama Day. Next Wednesday, July 19th is Alabama Day. That's going to get started at 9 a.m. So you're going to want to be paying attention and really following BamaCentral.com and BamaCentral on the social medias on Wednesday, as it's going to be a huge day. Talking to Nick Saban, talking to Kool-Aid McKinstry, J.C. Latham, and Dallas Turner. All right, so what I got like 4 or 5 different questions based off those selections that I want to get into with you, the listener. Feel free to jump in on the comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you'd like to participate in today's show. But let's start with my thoughts on the selection. I think that Coach Saban chooses the right. Come on. I'm not going to tell Coach Saban he's chosen the wrong players. I think Coach has chosen 3 very good representatives of the University of Alabama, especially of what the 2023 football team is going to want to be about. You look at what he chooses to bring to Nashville. He chooses to bring a stud right tackle, who's a longtime starter, probably a future first-round draft pick in J.C. Latham. He chooses to bring Dallas Turner, a stud edge rusher, going to bring the pain off the edge, going to try to fill the Will Anderson shoes, and obviously probably a top 10 overall draft pick. And he's taking He's taking Kool-Aid McKinstry. Kool-Aid McKinstry, lockdown corner, been there, done that for Alabama over the last couple of years, and also will be a first-round draft pick. Honestly, all three of these guys you could see go in the top 10 of next year's NFL draft. So people, wonder, where's the offensive skill position? Why didn't he choose Kool-Aid? Why didn't he choose JC? Why didn't he choose Dallas Turner? I think these guys have established themselves over the course of really 3 years, but more so over the last 3 to 4 months, with the departure of Will Anderson and Bryce Young. I believe that really Dallas Turner, J.C. Latham, I've heard me talk for the last 2 years about wanting to reestablish the offensive line, the attitude on the offensive line, the physicality on the Alabama offensive line. So I think J.C. Latham is really taking the offensive line, taking the reins of the offensive line's leadership room. Yeah, of course you already know. Yeah, Miss Julie and I already know these players were repping Alabama football. Yes, we're talking about why they're getting chosen to go up to Nashville instead of other players. They're chosen. I mean, look, Coach Saban, he if you want to choose other veterans, he could have chose Seth McLaughlin. He could have chose Darren Dalcourt. He could have chose Will Reichert, Mr. Fifth Year Senior, Mr. Super Senior. He could have chose Jace McClellan or Malachi Moore. I've got several options. You go with these guys because they're established, because they're going to be really your top 10 overall picks in the next year's draft. And I think that really you want to kind of emphasize the physicality up front with J.C. Latham and Dallas Turner. You want to put the onus on Dallas Turner to lead this defense after the departure of Will Anderson. And so you say, Dallas, you've got to assert yourself, get out in front of the media, and the team will really hear from you. Last year, we remember it was Jordan Battle, Bryce Young, and Will Anderson. Obvious choices. Look, your alternatives, it would have been fine to take Will Reichert. The media would have hated it. Will would have been, bored. Oh, I'm just trying to kick, yada, yada. He would have been fine to take. I think Malachi Moore would have been a fun option. Malachi Moore from right up there, Hewitt Trustful Husky, been with the program for quite some time. But I think Malachi gets passed over. The problem is you can't take another guy without sitting Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, or J.C. Latham on the bench. So I think that you have to take those three guys. If you don't take those three, then you're really doing yourself a disservice by putting Jace McClellan in there or someone else. Yeah, Miss Julie asks, who out of these players showed up in Florida to work out? I believe you're trying to get ahead on J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham's really, I think, got into really taking the reins of the offensive leadership. Now, I do expect it to be a Jalen Milroe-led offense this year, but you cannot take a quarterback to SEC Media Days, because essentially you've shut down, or you have, if Coach Saban took any of the quarterbacks, or if he took all three of the quarterbacks or two of the quarterbacks, then you just create controversy, and that's not what Coach Saban wants to do. That's not anything that Coach Saban ever wants to be about. You can't take a quarterback up to Nashville because it basically nukes your competition. I think you really do have a three-way battle between Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, and Tyler Buckner going into the 2023 year. I still am on Team Milroe, and I think that he's going to end up winning the job. But you cannot take Jalen Milroe without nuking your quarterback competition, and that's exactly the opposite of what Coach Saban wants to do. I think Coach Saban's going to carry the quarterback competition really through the entire first week. We're going to get to the end of the MTSU game, and we'll try to do our jobs. Coach, who's going to start quarterback next week when Texas comes to town? And I think Coach is going to say, I'm still undecided. I think he's still going to kind of leave the door open. And after the Texas game, depends on how that goes. Maybe Milroe leads the entire leads the whole game and performs well, and Alabama wins. 38-24 something. Wins by a nice margin. Or maybe you're going to have to opt to switch to Ty Simpson, or even go to Tyler Buckner. I think Coach Saban's going to leave his options open at the quarterback position, really for as long as possible. So what do you want to know from these guys? What do you want to know from these guys as you go up to Nashville next week? And really, what I want to know is, I want to know from Dallas Turner what he's doing, what his plan is, and what he's doing to step into Will Anderson's leadership role. You you're probably not going to get the same production out of Dallas Turner that you got from Will Anderson, his superstar sophomore year. Now, Will's junior year, it was fine. I think Will was played out of position, but I really want to know what Dallas Turner, how he is embracing the leadership role, whether his style is okay, I'm going to lead by example, or I'm going to be really vocal. Honestly, I think that the Alabama defense has always operated better when the leadership is highly vocal. Think about Reuben Foster. Think about Ronnie Harrison. Think about really Mark Barron. You've had dogs on that defense. Rashawn Evans. I don't know that you've had the vocal leadership over the last couple of years on the defense. Now, Will Anderson, obviously, leading by example, and I think he did get better in that area over the course of his time here in Tuscaloosa, but I just wonder if you really had that alpha dog taking everybody and saying, hey, we're going this way, we're attacking it, all 11 of us are attacking. I think Dallas Turner, I would love to see him embrace some sort of, I don't want to see like, dirty trash talk or whatever, but I do want to see some edge, some grit, some kind of excitement about being physical, some excitement about imposing your will on other offenses, and I would love to hear that from Dallas Turner. Now, from Kool-Aid, I want to hear kind of the same thing, but on the back end of the defense. I want to hear Kool-Aid say, hey, man, I have really tried to understand the coverages, and I've really tried to understand and make the rest of the defensive backs understand coverages. Been working with Terry and Arnold very much. We've been getting, fluid with our hips, working on our back pedals, working on identifying, seeing the ball in the air. I think Kool-Aid's starting to get into the Pat Surtain camp of, oh my gosh, we are not going to throw at him, and he is, a lockdown island corner over there. I just want to hear Kool-Aid be himself. I want to get to know him a little bit because, what kind of guy is named Kool-Aid? I know that I've seen that comment a million times, but it's not his real name. Come on, guys. So I want to get to know Kool-Aid beyond just, hey, I like football, and I think Kool-Aid and Coach Saban have a very, very special relationship, have a unique relationship, probably akin to the Marlon, a little bit similar to the Marlon Humphrey relationship, a little bit similar to the Minkah Fitzpatrick relationship, but each obviously with their own unique styles there. I think Kool-Aid, and I think Coach Saban loves Kool-Aid. And so I'd love to hear about maybe Kool-Aid giving us a great Nick Saban story. I'll try to get that out of him next week. And so JC, let's flip it to the offensive guy, JC Latham. Now look, JC is going to get it asked a million times. Who's going to be the starting quarterback? How do you feel about the quarterback competition? Yada, yada. He's going to be asked it a million different ways from Sunday. And J.C. Latham's going to have to really say that we're going to leave the quarterback room. We're going to, be focused on our own jobs with the offensive line. I believe that really it doesn't matter who plays quarterback because I think the offensive line is really going to excel and improve in the second year of Eric Wolford's system. And I think J.C. Latham is I think J.C. has loved being coached by Eric Wolford. And so due to that, I am expected to hear, J.C. Latham to basically put off the attitude that the players don't really mind or don't really care about the quarterback battle because they're focused on their own jobs. That's why you don't take a quarterback. You don't want to create any undue controversy. And I think these three players who have been in the program, Kool-Aid 3 years, Dallas is he's going into his third year. They're all going into their third year, excuse me. And so you bring these veterans to the program, they're not going to create controversy. They're probably, going to talk about how hungry you are. You got to ask them about if they're, losing the West last year, having LSU and Tennessee coming back into Bryant-Denny Stadium this year. The schedule is, not that easy. So it's going to be fun to talk to these players next Wednesday about, really everything under the sun. We're going to be with them from 9 a.m. to probably, I think, about noon or so, really interviewing. And so I'm going to have to spend some time doing a lot of research and trying to come up with some interesting, good, fun questions. So that's really what we're looking at for SEC Media Days next week. Next Wednesday, July 9th, Alabama decides to take Kool-Aid McKinstry, decides to take J.C. Latham, and decides to take Dallas Turner. A little sidebar, a little side note. Tuscaloosa native, well, not native, he moved to Tuscaloosa from Georgia. Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter is is being chosen by the University of Georgia to go to SEC Media Days. Kamari Lassiter, ACA Patriot, right over here. What is it? Not Patriot Parkway. That's 15th Street. That's Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Right down there, Veterans Memorial Boulevard, ACA. I watched Kamari Lassiter play his final 2 seasons here at ACA, and just to see him grow and really become a starting cornerback for the University of Georgia, highly impressive because I don't know that I saw that in him here at ACA. So I got to give Kamari Lassiter a lot of credit for his growth over the last couple of seasons, really putting in a lot of work, going from ACA Patriots right down there on Veterans Memorial Boulevard all the way to Athens. Now he's a two-time national champion, and he will be representing the University of Georgia at SEC Media Days next week. Now, look, the rest of the SEC Media Days it's going to be interesting because it's going to be fun because it really signifies the start of the downhill slide. I mean, really, after you get through SEC Media Days, we will be at fall camp in no time, pretty much the end of the month. What are we at? July 11th, so you're looking at 20 days roughly until fall camp gets rolling. And we're going to have coverage on BamaCentral of all things fall camp. I cannot wait to really get back into the groove of things, get back into the swing of things. I'm so excited about this football season. Now, one of the triggers or one of the thoughts that came to my brain as I'm looking at the SEC Media Days list, the players that are getting taken, I want to and I will do later in the week a ranking of the quarterbacks walking into the 2023 season. You got 14 quarterbacks for 14 schools. I've seen this list done by a handful of other outlets already, and every time I see this list done, I see KJ Jefferson at the top for Arkansas, and I see Jackson Dart up there. Obviously, I see Joe Milton up there, and so I will really do some thinking about this and rank them. But my problem, and the real reason why I'm a little bit intrigued by this topic, is every time I see this list, I see Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson, the two Alabama potential starters. I see Jalen Milroe listed at 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th in the SEC. I got a huge problem with that. I think that obviously we're not walking in with Bryce Young. We're not walking in. Alabama's not going to be playing with the best quarterback in the SEC this year. It's just probably going to be the truth. You probably it might be Connor Wigman. It might be, like I said, it might be Jackson Dart. Lots of people love Joe Milton right now. There's good quarterbacks in the SEC. But to sit here and suggest that Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson might be the 10th best starter in the league, I think is laughably disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to their, one, to their talent and their skill set, and two, to their development. You're going to see, I think you're going to see a far different Jalen Milroe than you saw last year against Texas A&M. Look, you want to know what happened last year against Texas A&M? Bryce Young takes all of those practice snaps leading up to Texas A&M. Bryce Young plans to start and plans to play against Texas A&M day of the game. I'm not quite there. Okay, Jalen Milroe, get ready and run the Bryce Young game plan. That's dumb. It's not going to work. That's not very smart. That doesn't put your man Jalen Milroe in the best position possible. You're going to see a way different Jalen Milroe this season when things are catered to Jalen Milroe, when he is given the opportunities, when he is given the practice repetitions, when he is given the opportunities to lead this offense. I think you're going to see a far, far different Jalen Milroe than we saw in the Texas A&M game. I mean, you're obviously still going to see the flashes of athleticism. You're going to see the ability, the cannon for an arm. He has a rocket for an arm. His throwing mechanics last season were absolutely atrocious in that Texas A&M game. But hey, you won the ball game, you got through it, and he got great experience. So look, whoever ends up being the Alabama starter, whether it's Tyler Buchner, Ty Simpson, or Jalen Milroe, they ain't going to be 10th in the SEC. I think you're probably going to be closer to 4th, 5th, 6th. And really, you put this Alabama team with the 4th, 5th, 6th best quarterback in the SEC. Look, I've already said it a million times already in this program. I'm pumped for the pieces that are on this team. I'm pumped for the offensive line, the wide receivers. And so whoever the quarterback, whether it's Ty Simpson, Milroe, or Buchner, you're not going to have the 10th best quarterback in the league. Laughably stupid to suggest that Alabama will be rocking with the 10th best quarterback in the SEC this coming up season. All right, let's move on to topic number two. And that is, oh my gosh, Alabama baseball hit some news yesterday. Twofold. You got a deeper report, or you got more details about the Brad Bohannon gambling report yesterday, thanks to Sports Illustrated and Pat Forty. Pat Forty puts on, you can read it inside the Alabama baseball gambling scandal. Basically, puts on 500-600 words, detailing what happened in the gambling scandal, and I was upset. When this first happened, I was upset and mind blown by Brad Bohannon and his decision making when this first happened. But just to read the details that Pat Forty and his team uncovered, the research that these guys uncovered. All right, look, if you haven't seen the article, here's the quick synopsis. Brad Bohannon is texting with Mr. Neff. Mr. Neff, here we go. Where's my first name? Neff. Alabama, that Neff. What? Oh, Bert Eugene Neff. Thank you. I was passing it over a million times while I was looking at the article. Bert Eugene Neff was walking into the sports book in Cincinnati, and he's got $100,000. Apparently, he walks up to the sports book and he wants to bet $100,000 on a college baseball game. All right, look, we've talked about gambling on this show a couple of times. I don't know if we've talked about this specific instance on this show, but $100,000 on a college baseball game, you're a moron. You are an absolute moron. You're asking to get basically sought out. You're asking to get found out. Well, first, the $100,000 bet, whether you have insider information or not, let's just say I walk up and I'm Joe Schmo and I'm walking up, I got $100,000. I want to drop it on McNeese State baseball, whatever the case may be. Weird. First, that's a red flag. Red flags going off majorly in the casino, and that obviously did happen. They said, "Hey, man, we cannot take a $100,000 bet on this game because it's too much liability. We don't support that level of wagering on college baseball because that is very, very highly, it's very, very unusual." So Eugene Neff, he then says, "No, you have to take this bet. You have to take this bet because, house rules." And he says, "Oh, I have inside information on the game." I mean, it's unbelievable. You don't tell somebody I have insider information. You don't. Period. If I'm gambling with you and I know that the quarterback's certain, you don't, I'm not going to tell you. It's dumb. You're sabotaging your own self. This story is just layer upon layer upon layer of self-sabotage. I mean, and Coach Bo, you got no one to blame but yourself, Coach Bo. You have no one to blame but yourself with this self-sabotage. You're making $500,000 a year. And look, we do not know. And the report did state, we do not know if Brad Bohannon was using Eugene Neff to gamble by proxy. But we do know, it's reported and confirmed in the Pat 40 article that dropped yesterday, that Brad Bohannon knew that Eugene Neff was walking into a dadgum casino to place a big bet. Okay, look. If I'm a coach, like I've run this story a million ways to Sunday, and I have a great respect for coaches. I've always kind of wanted to be a coach myself. My father's a great coach. Look, when you're a coach, you want the best for your athletes. You want the best for your team. You want to put your team in the best position to succeed. You don't want any injuries. You don't want any losses. Like, you're trying to steer the ship in positive direction for everyone. But Brad Bohannon, you're involved in letting people know insider information? Not only that, Eugene Neff, not only the direct text messages with Eugene Neff, Coach Bo knows it's wrong. He knows it's wrong. Why? Because they're not texting on iMessage. They're not texting on Facebook Messenger, where a lot of people talk. They're not talking on just regular text messages, SMS text messages. They're using a messaging app, an encrypted messaging app called Signal, which I've never heard of. But basically, the way I understand it is, it keeps your text messages private. It keeps you from being hacked. And so well, if I'm using a secret messaging app, I know what I'm doing is wrong. Period. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing is wrong. Not only is he messaging Eugene Neff, but there's allegedly a small gambling ring. What? So Neff goes into Cincinnati's sportsbook and tries to gamble, tries to wager $100,000. And his compatriots, his compadres, his gambling buddies are in Indiana trying to place similar wagers. Similar big wagers. I'm sorry. Look, if I know I've got the sports book over its, what? If I know I have a winning bet, I'm not going to go gamble $1 million. I'm not going to go gamble my entire yearly salary or 3 times my yearly salary. Look, I might gamble a month's salary. I might say, you know what? It's worth a month's salary. I think I can get away with it. Like, you got to be smaller time. I mean, 1, it's wrong, period. It's way wrong. But 3, the way you go about it is so incredibly stupid. the stupidity, the disrespect for the game. Look, Coach Bo's been in baseball all his life, dating back to assistant coach at Kentucky, assistant coach at Auburn, been here, head coach at Alabama for the last, 4 or 5 years. And Coach Bo, you were making a fine living. Now, look, I know it's not the easiest life to coach college athletics, especially college baseball, considering the restrictions, the recruiting, the 24/7 nature, the MLB draft that goes into that, and playing in the SEC. It's damn hard. It's damn hard. It is, period. But you're making $500,000 a year. You're making $500,000 a year to be average, to be just average. That's really the Alabama fans. When you came to Tuscaloosa, the baseball program was in shambles. The baseball program was in the basement. Now, look, you go to the super regional round, and the baseball fans are ecstatic, are over the moon with the finish of this past season. So, Coach Bo, you didn't have to go win a national championship. You didn't have to win SEC championships. You just had to be above average. Above average, continue to recruit, cash your paychecks. You could have been here for 20 years. Maybe though it might be a little hyperbole, but it's ridiculous. It's laughably disrespectful. Laughably disrespectful to the game of baseball, to the University of Alabama, to the 30-ish guys that are on the program. And so for Eugene Neff, you're reading about this, and I just don't understand how Coach Bo catches himself or finds himself in situations with this man. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And so part of me is like, there's something missing in this story. There's something but you look at it and you see Eugene Neff, his history in baseball. He goes and pitches at Louisville in the early 90s. He doesn't even finish an entire year. He transfers to Indiana. He doesn't letter at Indiana. So basically he flames out. He's a highly recruited high school pitcher who flames out because it sounded like he had some personal problems and some mental problems, maybe a little screw loose. He then goes and becomes just a scout and a coach, and he gets dismissed from coaching. It says, hey, we don't want you back for whatever reason. Apparently, he was very abrasive. Apparently, he's very abrupt and direct. And so a lot of people didn't appreciate his style, very opinionated style. Look, why is Coach – that's what's so flabbergasting. That's what's so mind-blowing to me. Coach Bo, the few times that I spoke to him, always respectful, always a nice guy, always shaking my hand and treating, never would have considered a screw loose. Didn't even consider that, any sort of integrity issue may have popped up. It's ridiculous. It's just mind-blowing what happened here in Tuscaloosa. And really, as you continue to see the fallout, we're really paying attention to see if criminal charges are levied. For one, and two, if what will happen with Coach Bo in the NCAA? I imagine he's going to get a fairly large show cause and not going to be, permitted. Look, no college in their right mind. No I wouldn't hire him from my high school. I'd have a hard time hiring him from my high school right now. Just convoluting and messing up the integrity of the game. I just throwing games or giving insider information. It's mind-blowing. It's unbelievable. And so we appreciate Pat Forty and Sports Illustrated uncovering some more details yesterday about Brad Bohannon and the Alabama gambling scandal that happened earlier in the spring. And so if you want to check that out, you can. It's right there on Sports Illustrated right now. It's called Inside the Alabama Baseball Gambling Scandal. Report posted yesterday right before our show, right before we got started. What are we going to next? We're going to Alabama baseball. We're going to Brad Bohannon. Oh, yeah. Next things up is we are in the middle of the Major League Baseball draft. Alabama in the middle of the Major League Baseball draft, and the Crimson Tide has had, 6 players, right? Yeah, 6 players selected. Really, 5 players that, 4 players that you are familiar with, and 2 high school players that were slotted to come into Tuscaloosa that are now likely, I would bet, not coming to Tuscaloosa. We'll see. 1 for sure not. First, let's start with the Alabama guys, the ones you know, the ones you watched here at the capstone of the last couple of years. Andrew Pinckney is drafted in the 4th round, pick number 102 by the Washington Nationals. Pinckney really became probably Alabama's best overall player over the last 2 years. Great athlete in the outfield, flying all over the outfield, making diving catches. You all saw the hashtag not on Pink. And really, my first year watching covering the baseball team, I think he was a freshman. The athleticism was obvious. The defensive skills were obvious, but he was a complete crap show at the plate. He was terrible at the plate. And over the last 2 seasons, Andrew Pinckney has become really a key part of the Alabama offense. And so nice to see him get drafted 4th round overall to the Washington Nationals. Expect him to be picked up and spend some time in the minor leagues. Now we continue. Grayson Hitt, pitcher, goes into the draft 4th round. 10 picks later, gets picked by the Arizona Diamondbacks. And we continue in the sixth round. Hunter Furtado got selected by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and in the 7th round, Caden Rose got selected, pick number 208 by the Boston Red Sox. So those guys are obviously all gone, and we wish them well, and we hope they don't spend too much time in the minor leagues. Minor leagues can be like purgatory. But we wish them well, and we hope that they continue having great success, having a lot of fun playing some baseball. Now, on the interesting side, you've got Bryce Etheridge. Bryce Etheridge was an Alabama commit. He was committed to the Crimson Tide for this year. Apparently, he's a two-way player. He just kind of like, I don't even want to say Shohei Ohtani because putting anyone in his category or anyone in his class is, frankly, not fair at all. But the young man does possess the skills to pitch and and play the field. So he will go to the New York Giants. No, excuse me. He will go to the San Francisco Giants. We're talking baseball. He's going to the San Francisco Giants, 1st round draft pick number 16. Young man will not make it to Tuscaloosa. Why? Because his pick number 16, his slot value is $4 million, a little over $4 million to be exact. So while it would be nice to see young Bryce Eldridge in Tuscaloosa, you're not going to do that. Bryce Eldridge will probably be in the San Francisco Giants farm system for a year or 2 before you start to see him creep up, maybe 3, before you start to see him creep up into Major League Baseball, either as a pitcher or a fielder. And then subsequently, AJ Ewing got drafted in the 4th round by the New York Mets. And AJ Ewing, high school player. In the 4th round, you kind of want look, his slot value, I'll let you decide. His slot value is $480,000, $483,000 to be exact. So his contract is worth that $483,000. I say $483,000 again, just for emphasis. That's a lot of money. That is a ton of money. But if you're not a 1st round draft pick, coming out of high school, AJ Ewing, his path is likely in the minor leagues. So he still can decide, and I think it's still probably 50-50 about AJ Ewing, whether he will come to Tuscaloosa or not. Now, if he comes to Tuscaloosa, you've got him for 3 years before he's re-eligible for the MLB draft. So it's kind of cost-benefit analysis, whether you want to go now, take the $483,000, get yourself into the minor leagues, or come to Alabama on some sort of percentage scholarship and then work for 3 years and try to get redrafted in a much higher round. I think that would be the smarter, longer-term way to go, but I don't know AJ Ewing's circumstances, and you never know. $483,000 is quite a pretty piece of pennies, quite a lot of pennies for a young man, and you never know how that can impact a family and what their family's needs are. All right, let's keep it going. First, just since we're on the baseball talk, a little quick congratulations to Vlad Guerrero Jr., home run derby champion last night. Not an Alabama piece of note, but nice big sports moment. And then if you're looking for something to do, because it is like the worst week in sports ever. Every year, this is the worst week in sports ever. But tonight, if you're looking for something to do, you can check out the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, 7 o'clock on Fox. It'll be on my TV. I don't know how much paying attention to it I will be doing, but it will be on my TV. All right, I got 2 more topics. One is college football related. You've all been watching it. You've all been seeing it. Northwestern. And I want to tie it into Alabama a little bit, but really I want to talk about Northwestern. And this is just disgusting. A horrible story. And really, you hesitate to get into it too much because of everything's still kind of in allegation stages. But what do we know? We know that a handful of Northwestern players have come forward who have played over the course of Pat Fitzgerald's career, have come forward discussing hazing rituals, maybe sexual harassment incidents that have happened in the Northwestern locker room. Whether the coach was aware or unaware of it, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. You think anything happens in the Alabama locker room that Coach Saban is unaware of? You think Oh, it real like okay, yeah, you might have a fight that goes on unbeknownst to Coach Saban, but anything consistent, a consistent pattern of behavior. If someone's always coming in late, or if someone's always trashing their locker, or if someone's always creating drama, or if two guys are fighting over and over every single day. Look, Coach Saban knows about those things. It's the job of the college football coach to know what's going on in your program. That's why these staffs have 1,000,001 people on it. I love the University of Alabama. Thank you so much for their success. Their success allows me to have a job, really. But they have 1,000,001 employees, and each one of them have a very specific set of very specific job. And so I know that Coach Saban knows when there's a pattern of a problem beginning at the University of Alabama. For Pat Fitzgerald to say, "Oh, I didn't know about this," and then for players to come out and say, "No, there was a whiteboard right in the middle of the locker room for 3 years." With players' names on it, a list of if you messed up in practice, then you kind of they called it running or the Shrek, which is I don't really understand that nickname, but essentially, all right, here's your viewer discretion advised. Listener discretion advised, per se. Look, essentially, they took player X who made a mistake in practice and, stripped him naked and tried, dry humping him and messing with him, wrestling, making him uncomfortable. Look, I don't want anybody touching me naked. Sorry, I don't. The list of people who want touching me naked are very, very few. Very, very, like none, like one. So come on, and I played in the locker room. I was in the locker room. Look, I remember in high school, I could easily remember. It was my birthday, October 6th, everybody's birthday. You got birthday licks. This was 2006, 7. And so, yeah, when you turn 17, Johnny Linebacker comes up and punches you 17 times in the arm and says, "Happy birthday, Joe." And you walk home with, you kind of have a Charlie horse in your arm. I got that from a lot of players. Everybody did. Maybe my high school should be in trouble for that. Now, we did not have anything sexual harassing. Goodness gracious, you read about Northwestern, the naked quarterback snap, the center quarterback snap exchange. Look, you all think about what playing quarterback. It's a little awkward sticking your hands underneath somebody's rear end to take a snap. It is, but that's just part of playing quarterback. Julian Saban's used to it. Tom Brady's used to it. All of them are used to it. But you know what they're not used to? You know what they're not doing? What any of them are not doing? They're not taking center quarterback snap exchanges in the nude in the locker room. It's disgusting. It's appalling. Like, first off, for it to be a pattern over the course of time. Now, granted, it couldn't be few and far between, but now you've seen a number of players come out and corroborate, and now you also have the equally difficult part of it. You have the side of players who support Pat Fitzgerald. I'm sure Pat Fitzgerald is a good football coach. I'm sure he cares about his players. I'm sure that he thought or thinks that he was doing the right thing. I think that he was very this is what we did at my time at Northwestern. Maybe this is the right thing to do to initiate players or to get players to realize, the Wildcat standard. I'm sorry. I am you got to protect your players. You have to. And so Pat Fitzgerald gets fired. Pat Fitzgerald gets fired yesterday from Northwestern, and really Northwestern's hands were tied. Northwestern tried to sweep it under the rug, and that's unbelievable to me. He tried to sweep it under the rug by giving him a 2-week suspension and keeping the investigation in-house. You got to give massive credit to the student journalists at Northwestern, the Daily Northwestern. Really, the student journalist over there, and really everybody in Evanston coming together. I cannot believe it, honestly. To be leading a Big Ten program for the course of 17 years, and things like this happening. It seemed like at a pretty common rate. It seemed like it was a pretty accepted practice. I'm sorry, I don't want to, I've been in locker rooms before where obviously nudity is part of being in the locker room. But I can easily and thankfully say, I can look back on my time in locker rooms and think, okay, praise the Lord, none of my teammates got out of hand. Praise the Lord, none of my teammates got any weird ideas. Now, the second part of this is people after Pat Fitzgerald gets fired, people immediately go to. One, who's going to take the Northwestern job, and two, Pat Fitzgerald is going to land in the Nick Saban coaching rehab clinic. I don't know about that. I think we're going to probably pump the brake on that. I think Coach Saban's probably going to let this whole thing play out before that even becomes a possibility. Now, I think that was a lot of people that were anti-Alabama fans probably trying to dig at Coach Saban for his reclamation projects. I think that's a cheap shot. I think it's a cheap shot because I think Coach Saban is really genuinely trying to try to help these coaches in their the rehab clinic, whether it be Butch Jones, who stunk as a football coach, or whether it be Steve Sarkisian, who had a drinking problem. Whether it be a personal issue or a football issue, I think Coach Saban really did or does care about these coaches, and so I think it's a little insensitive to say, well, Pat Fitzgerald going to check into the Saban rehab clinic. He's going to be back on the block in a year. I think that's a little disrespectful to Coach Saban. I think that Coach Saban is really almost a little picky about who he's choosing to work with and, reclamate or whatever. I don't know about Pat Fitzgerald coming to Tuscaloosa as a defensive analyst, checking in to the Saban rehab clinic. Now, if I'm wrong in a couple of months, I'll own that. Absolutely. I will own that as well. All right, so let's close this bad boy out. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Let's close this show out with a funny Brian Harsin story. Brian Harsin, who's that? Oh, the former Auburn coach. Yeah, took Alabama to the brink, 2 seasons ago? 2 seasons ago. Took Alabama to the brink 2 seasons ago and then was fired this past season. And I like message boards, even though they're a bunch of hooey and not everything is true. Here's something that is a rumor that I thought you might enjoy. Okay, coaching rumors are obviously a big topic of conversation. What's your favorite Brian Harsin rumor? Responder. Mine is a rumor that Brian Harsin stole a vehicle from Auburn's athletic department. It was loaned to him as part of his contract, but he never returned it when he was fired like he was required. He drove it back to his home in Idaho and then refused to give it back when Auburn told him to. Because of this, an Auburn intern was flown out to Idaho with a spare key and drove it out of his driveway all the way back to Auburn. And I hope that's true. I hope that is true. One, Auburn did Brian Harsin wrong. Now, was he the best football coach? No, he wasn't. He didn't like recruiting. How can you win in the SEC if you don't like recruiting? But Brian Harsin, he was treated horribly by the Auburn family. Oh, he cheated on his wife with a recruiting director. No, there was no evidence of that. No, if he did or didn't, I don't know. There's no evidence of that. There's no corroboration of that. So, to stir up a rumor like that to try to fire the man with cause was just absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. Just like, not a good way to go, Auburn. Come on. So for Brian Harsin, if that rumor is true, you kind of commandeered one of the vehicles for a couple of weeks or whatnot, and said, no, I'm not driving this vehicle back. That's funny, and good on you, Brian Harsin. Go continue to live your life and find yourself some happiness. All right, so that's going to pretty much wrap our program up for the day. I appreciate everybody who watched us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You can watch us and check me out at JoeGaither6 or at BamaCentral.com's YouTube channel right there. Or you can see us or listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Download the show, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Tell a friend to check out that Julian Sayin interview that we had yesterday. We will continue to try to get on great guests throughout the rest of the week. I'm looking forward to the rest of the week. I will spend some time ranking quarterbacks, the SEC quarterbacks. Now, I will go ahead and tell you, I'm going to use Jalen Milroe as my Alabama representative of the 14 quarterbacks. But by the end of the week, I'll have the 14 quarterbacks ranked heading into SEC Media Days next week. So for Chris Walsh, that's my boss. You can follow him at Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine. You can follow BamaCentral at BamaCentral as well on the Twitter machine. Listen to Blue Collar Unplugged. They just dropped a new episode. Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle just dropped a new episode of Blue Collar Unplugged talking about Muhammad Wagi. Really excited to dive into that episode and listen to what those guys think about Alabama's newest transfer. Will he have a problem? Will Wagi have a problem with the Bob Huggins? I resigned, not resigned, unresigned. Y'all never fired me. I'm not fired. What? I think Wagi is going to be fine. I think Wagi is going to get a waiver no matter what ends up happening at West Virginia. It looks like West Virginia is basically saying, no, dude, you did resign. And so thus they are moving forward with an interim coach, or looking for a new coach. So I think Mohamed Wagee will be in the clear for Alabama. So make sure you listen to Blue Collar Unplugged as they talk about Mohamed Wagee and how he will fit into the NATO system, fit into the Alabama Crimson Tide program. Make sure you follow them and listen to our friends All Things Bama, Austin Hannon and Katie Wyndham. We'll be putting out a new episode of All Things Bama towards the end of the week. So I'm going to be back with you tomorrow at 1. We'll be at 1 o'clock on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be at noon on Friday. We're doing noon on Friday going forward just to make room for a work meeting. So we're 1 every day except Fridays at noon. So that's going to do it for us today. Go out and give us a follow at Joe Gaither 6. Tell a friend about the program. This was the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.